If you're only using the 2D features of Adobe Photoshop, you will need to export an image of your UV layout. Put that onto a layer and use it as a guide or template for your paint. If you're using the 3D features of Photoshop, however, the UV layout is built in and you don't need to export an image out of Maya. So once again, if you're going to use just the old school 2D layers in Photoshop, you need a UV snapshot or an image. And if you use the 3D paint features of Photoshop, you don't need to do this step. Assuming that we're only going to use the 2D features of Photoshop, we'll need to export a UV snapshot. There are a couple of commands that could do this. I want to show you just one that I don't recommend in this case, and that's under Image, Create PSD Network. It might seem logical that we would use this command because we're going to be using Photoshop, so creating a PSD file makes sense. However, there are a couple of snags with this. One is that you already have to have some texture assigned to the object in order to use this command at all. In this case, we do have a texture assigned already, and so we would be able to use the command and it would be fine. But in some cases, you may not have a texture assigned, and then the command wouldn't work, and it would be kind of puzzling. The other issue with this command is that if you use it, it will replace the material on your object with a completely new material and a new texture file. So we don't want to do that. We just want to save out a simple snapshot. Go to the Polygons menu, and near the bottom here, at the bottom, you'll see UV Snapshot. We want to save it out to a particular folder. So I want to browse. And now I'm in my current project. So let's go up one level. You'll see I'm at Texture Paint Project Images. I actually want to save this into a folder called Photoshop, because this is not going to be an actual production asset that we will use in our final. We'll actually use this as a working file. So let's go up one level and create a new folder here. I can do that by right-clicking and choose New Folder. And I'll call it Photoshop. And then go into that folder. And now we can give it a name. I'll call it Fuselage UV Layout. And click Save. That didn't actually save the file. We've just entered in the file name that we want to create. We'll see size X and size Y. These are currently locked together. We want to unlock those. Flip the switch that says Keep Aspect Ratio to turn it off. Size X is the width. Let's make that 2048. Size Y is the height. Make that 1024. This is the color of the lines. Let's make that black. And then the image format, we don't want to use Maya IFF. Let's do PNG. That's a more universal format. And then finally, we have to have the object selected so that it's actually visible in the layout. And then click OK. That file's been saved. So let's check in on it. Go to the current project. I'll minimize Maya and then go to my file browser in the current project, Photoshop. So there's our image. I can double click on that just to preview it. And it's actually transparent. So if we load this in Photoshop, the lines will actually be suspended over a transparent background. Okay, so that part's done. If we want to do the 3D workflow in Photoshop, then we'll need to save the Maya scene file out to a format that Photoshop can understand and load. Photoshop cannot open a Maya scene file directly. However, it's a simple matter for us to save out a foreign file format such as a Wavefront OBJ. That's a very old format that's been around since the very early days, 1981. So almost every program will be able to open an OBJ document. To do that in Maya, we need to enable the appropriate plugin. It's not turned on by default. Go into the Window menu and choose Settings Preferences, Plugin Manager. You want to enable OBJ Export. And I can see it now. There it is, OBJ Export. Check the box to load the plugin, and it's loaded immediately. Also, you can check the box to auto-load so that the next time you launch Maya, that plugin will load automatically. Cool, so now we can close the plugin manager. And we want to save this out in a current state, so let's unisolate the selected object. And then increment and save. And finally, save out just an OBJ of the fuselage. So select that fuselage, go to the File menu, and choose Export Selection. Give it a name. We'll call it Fuselage. We don't want to save it into the Scenes folder. That would kind of clutter things up and get it confused. Once again, we'll go up a level and create a new folder. Right-click and make a new folder. I'll call it Export. Press Enter. And then go into that folder. Now we've got a file and a folder location to save into. We can choose the file type. Files of type. And we're looking for OBJ. OBJ export. Select that. Then our options change over here. In this case, we probably want to turn materials off. The way the OBJ documents store materials is in a separate file, which is a .mtl file. And that's just a little bit messy because we're not really going to be using the material that's on here anyway. We're going to be creating all new materials in Photoshop itself. So there's really no need for us to preserve the material as it is here. Click Export Selection, and then that's been saved out. And at this point, we've done our UV layout. And we've saved out both 2D and 3D files that we can load into Photoshop.